Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us. Merci d'être parmi nous. My name is Kina Leclerc and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Kina Leclerc et je serai l'animatrice de ce point de presse. Today we'll be hearing remarks from le maire, Jim Watson, Alain Gontier, General Manager, Public Works, Directeur général, Service des travaux publics, Kim Ayotte, General Manager, Emergency and Protective Services, Directeur général des services de protection et d'urgence, and Joseph Muglia, Director, Systems Operation and Grid Automation from Hydro Ottawa, Directeur, Exploitation des systèmes et automatisation du réseau. For your information, we also have additional city staff, Ottawa Public Health, and the Ottawa Police Service available to answer questions following the remarks. At this time, I would like to invite His Worship Jim Watson, Mayor of the City of Ottawa, to say a few words.
Alors, merci beaucoup, Kina. Thank you very much, Kina, and good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi. Today's media availability will begin with an update from Alain Gauthier, the General Manager of Public Works for the City of Ottawa. We'll hear from Kim Ayotte, the General Manager of Emergency and Protective Services, and from Joseph Muglia, the Director of System Operations and Grid Automation at Hydro Ottawa. For additional information and to respond to specific questions from the media, we're also joined by City Manager Steve Kanalakis, General Manager of Infrastructure and Water Services Tammy Rose, General Manager of Transit Services Renee Amilcar, General Manager of Community and Social Services Donna Gray, Fire Chief Paul Hutt, Chief of Paramedic Service Pierre Poirier, Dr. Vera Etches from Ottawa Public Health, and Acting Superintendent Robert Drummond from the Ottawa Police Service. Merci à vous tous pour vos efforts incroyables depuis samedi après-midi. The city's Emergency Operations Center continues to support our recovery efforts in response to the storm, and the focus is on restoring power, removing debris, managing city services, and making sure that residents have access to the necessities. As of right now, power has been restored to approximately 106,000 Hydro Ottawa customers, with 74,000 still without power. And I know the crews continue to work around the clock to whittle that list of 74,000 down to zero. At this rate, Hydro Ottawa anticipates that most residents will have electricity restored in the next 2 to 3 days. Nous croyons que la plupart de nos résidents auront de l'électricité d'ici 2 à 3 jours. We're making progress on all fronts, but road closures and traffic impacts are ongoing due to fallen trees and debris on the roadways. We continue to advise residents to stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. As you know, power and other disruptions caused by the storm are extensive and widespread, and we continue to support our residents and businesses as we work nonstop to resolve this crisis. Notre priorité numéro 1 demeure la sécurité de nos résidents. Our primary concern remains public safety, and we are conducting wellness visits and providing information through 311 and other channels. If you're calling for social services, you can call 311 and select option 4 for more information. The city has opened many accessible emergency reception centers where residents can access services and power in order to charge cell phones and mobility devices. Locations and hours are subject to change based on community needs, so please visit ottawa.ca/storm recovery for more information. That's ottawa.ca/storm recovery for more information. Visitez ottawa.ca/après la tempête pour plus d'informations. C'est ottawa.ca/après la tempête. We anticipate that the cleanup of fallen trees and debris will take weeks. We know that we get a lot of calls about this, so individuals who have trees and branches and so on, bring them to the front of your driveway, at the end of your driveway, and we will do our best to pick them up. It will take several weeks though, so don't expect the debris to leave overnight, because we need to get power back to everyone and open up the roads, but we will take care of that tree debris as soon as possible. This morning, the city began a green bin blitz that will continue over the next few days in the neighborhoods most affected by the storm in order to ensure the organic waste is in fact collected as soon as possible. Excuse me. The city has also arranged for large organic only bins to be placed in several communities. 8 are currently in place and more are expected very, very soon. Many who lost power will need to dispose of food that is spoiled, and we ask residents to remove food from packaging before placing the items in the green bin. It's really important that you don't keep the cellophane or the tin foil on. You have to make sure that all of that is taken off before you put it in the green bin. To make sure residents are aware of the green bin collection blitzes in their wards, we're running ads on local radio stations starting tomorrow. The city will continue with regular garbage and recycling collection, and residents can set out organic waste weekly in their green bin according to the collection calendar. And as you know, for this week, we're 1 day late for your normal pickup because of the Queen Victoria holiday. Some city services were closed today, but we anticipate the priority operations will be back to normal starting tomorrow, and the most up-to-date information is always available on ottawa.ca. Je sais que les conseillers travaillent sans arrêt dans leur quartier et je veux les remercier de leur service et dévouement envers leurs résidents. Due to the severity of the situation on the ground and the fact that many councillors and thousands are still without power, I've decided to cancel tomorrow's City Council meeting, and all items will instead rise to Council on June 8th. I want to commend my colleagues on Council who are all working very, very hard to make sure our staff realize the impact in their particular community and in specific streets and neighborhoods. Finally, I want to commend city staff for the exceptional job they have done to support residents, maintain essential city services, manage traffic and transit, and keep residents informed over the last few days. We continue to provide services to our most vulnerable, and I want to acknowledge that many health and social service partners across Ottawa have not wavered in providing critical services to residents. Un gros merci au personnel de la Ville pour le travail exceptionnel des derniers jours. I'll now hand things over to Alain Gauthier, the General Manager of Public Works. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Public Works has deployed all available resources to 3 overarching priorities. The first one is restoring the transportation system. The second one is, as Mr. Mayor indicated, is the focus on collecting food waste. And the third is on removing damaged trees, tree cutting branches and debris. So in terms of the transportation system, we still have more than 40 roads that are closed due to fallen trees or branches and hydro wires. There are also still several hundred signalized intersections that are not functioning, either due to damaged infrastructure or lack of power. On a positive side is we have addressed more than half of the traffic signals that were in need of repair, and we continue to work closely with our hydro partners to get the rest of the units up and running. And again, as a reminder, as I noted previously, a reminder to everyone that you must, when you must be on the roads, please treat the controlled intersections as 4-way stops if the lights are not working. This is critical to everyone's safety. We also appreciate, in terms of second priority, that many residents across the city have been without power for an extended period of time, and they've lost a lot of food. For that, we have deployed staff from a number of other service areas to help with the removal and management of that waste as soon as possible, so that public health does not become the new emergency. Des employés municipaux provenant de d'autres secteurs des travaux publics ont été réaffectés afin de ramasser et de gérer les déchets le plus rapidement possible pour que la santé publique ne devienne pas une autre urgence. This means that there may be some impacts to regular operations, such as grass cutting, parks waste collection, some sidewalk repairs, or lower priority maintenance. It's important for us to really redirect as many of our priorities to the emergency at hand. We're also under a green bin collection blitz, as Mr. Mayor indicated, in the neighborhoods that are most affected by the storm. This means that residents within storm-related materials in Knoxdale-Merivale, Stittsville, River, and Cumberland wards are asked to set out their green bins at the curb, as they have done today. We can assure you that we will be doing multiple passes, so if you've missed us, we will be back. It also needs to be appreciated that collection will take time. So if your green bin is not collected by the end of the day, just please take it in, put it back at the curb the following morning, and we will be by. It's also important to remember that the collection list is for organics only. We're really trying to focus on food waste. So non-organic material like food packaging really should be disposed of separately. We've also set up several sites where residents have ongoing access to organic waste dumpsters. So 8 are currently in place, and I'm just going to outline them, and all of this information also is available on ottawa.ca. So the Navin Memorial Center on Colonial Road, the Carlisle Rec Complex on Shea Road, the Hunt Club Riverside Park Community Center, the Howard Darwin Centennial Arena, Minto Rec Complex, the Walter Baker Sports Center, the Osgood Community Center, and the Orleans Library. We're also working to install bins at additional locations, and those should be there sometimes tomorrow. One is at the Lincoln Fields Shopping Center, Greeley Community Center, the North Gower Client Service Center, and also the Richmond Arena, and we're working on an additional location in the south. And as I mentioned, residents can find these locations and addresses on ottawa.ca. Les résidents trouveront la liste des lieux où ont été placés des bennes pour les déchets organiques, ainsi que les adresses de ces lieux sur ottawa.ca. In addition to removing damaged trees, tree cutting, branches, and debris from the curbside, city crews are also continuing to remove fallen branches, brush, and other debris from roads across the city, as well as along our roadways and parks. Residents can report any dead or hazardous trees on city property by calling 311. Now, we ask residents to please separate brush from other non-organic waste, such as damaged patio furniture, shingles, fences, etc. That's very important because those materials are going in 2 separate areas. So please keep the trees and brush in separate piles. Also, we want to clarify that in the green bin, because of the situation that we're in right now, we're really focusing the green bin on organic waste. Yard waste should be kept separate. Those will be collected as separate collections. It may take us a bit of time to be able to get to them, but we can assure you that we will get through all of the collections. Nous demandons aux résidents de bien vouloir séparer les broussailles et les autres déchets non organiques, tels que les mobiliers de jardin endommagés, les bardeaux, les clôtures, etc. C'est important de garder ces éléments-là séparés des matières, des arbres et des broussailles. Les résidents recevront aussi dans le prochain jour des renseignements sur les façons de se débarrasser des déchets non organiques. Lastly, Building Code Services has stood up its severe weather line to respond to a high number of inquiries related to this weather event. The number is 613-580-2424, extension 68855. Clearing up after a storm as severe as this one is an enormous undertaking. It will take us several weeks to be able to get through it. My sincere thank you to the residents of Ottawa for your patience, your cooperation, your collaboration, and your support. Le processus de nettoyage après une tempête aussi violente que celle qui s'est abattue sur Ottawa est une tâche gigantesque qui nous prendra plusieurs semaines à nettoyer. Je remercie sincèrement les résidents d'Ottawa pour la patience et la coopération dont ils font preuve et le soutien qu'ils démontrent. Un grand merci. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Alain. Thank you very much, Alain. I would now like to invite Kim Ayotte, General Manager, Emergency and Protective Services, to say a few words. J'invite maintenant Kim Ayotte, Directeur général des services de protection et d'urgence, à dire quelques mots.
Bonjour, merci. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to share my thanks to everyone in our city for stepping up and helping neighbors and strangers alike through this crisis. Staff from our emergency services are continuing to work flat out to deliver assistance to those who need it the most, while also maintaining regular operations. Ottawa Fire Service is going door to door, conducting wellness visits in the hardest hit impacted areas and supporting residents affected by the storm. Our paramedic service continues to respond to calls and to help residents during this difficult time. Bylaw and Regulatory Services is responding to all requests for service relating to the storm, including dead and dangerous trees and debris on private property, and we'll be working directly with property owners to reach solutions. Our goal is to assist and to support residents during this difficult time. Les services des règlements municipaux répondent à toutes les demandes de services liés à la tempête, y compris les arbres endommagés et les débris sur les propriétés privées, et travaillent directement avec les propriétaires fonciers pour établir des solutions. Notre objectif est d'offrir de l'aide et du soutien aux résidents pendant cette période difficile. For residents who've lost access to well water, bottled water is available at the following locations, along with hoses for potable water to fill containers. Pour les résidents qui n'ont plus accès à l'eau du puits, nous offrons de l'eau embouteillée aux endroits suivants, ainsi que des stations d'eau potable pour remplir leurs contenants. W. Erskine Johnson Arena at 3832 Carp Road, Howard Darwin Centennial Arena at 1765 Merivale Road, Navin Memorial Center at 1295 Colonial Road, Greeley Community Center at 1448 Meadow Drive, Richmond Arena at 6095 Perth Street. These locations are open from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. Ces endroits sont ouverts tous les jours de 10h à 22h. As we've been saying, if you can please check on any of your neighbors who may need assistance, particularly if they don't have access to the internet or social media, and help them find out about resources they may need. You can suggest listening to the radio or other media sources to gather this information. Comme il a déjà mentionné, si vous le pouvez, allez voir vos voisins qui pourraient avoir besoin de l'aide, en particulièrement ceux qui n'ont pas accès à l'Internet ni aux réseaux sociaux, pour leur mentionner les ressources qui sont offertes en cas de besoin. For those who are able to, you can visit the city's emergency reception centers for washrooms, showers, to charge your devices. We now have Wi-Fi access at many of the facilities and food at 4 main locations. The following facilities offer power for charging devices, showers, washrooms, food, and Red Cross. The Cardell Rec Center at 15 Shea Road, Wi-Fi is available. François Dupuis Recreational Center at 2263 Portobello Boulevard with Wi-Fi. Howard Darwin Centennial Arena at 1765 Merivale Road, Hunt Club Riverside Park Community Center at 3320 Paul Anka Drive, Wi-Fi is available. I'm going to repeat that regularly so that you know which facilities have Wi-Fi available. The following facilities offer power for charging devices, showers, and washrooms. Plant Recreation Center at 930 Somerset Street, Wi-Fi available. Richmond Arena, 6095 Perth Street, Wi-Fi available. J.A. Duluth Arena at 941 Clyde Avenue, Wi-Fi available. Bernard Grand Mite Arena at 309 McCarthy Road, Wi-Fi available. Navin Memorial Center, 1295 Colonial Road. Walter Baker Sports Center, 100 Malvern Drive, Wi-Fi is available. W. Erskine Johnson Arena at 3832 Carp Road. Jim Durrell Recreational Center at 1265 Walkley Road, Wi-Fi is available. Canterbury Recreational Complex at 2185 Arch Street, and Canada Leisure Center at 70 Air Place. The following facilities offer power for charging devices and washrooms only. Carlton Heights Community Center at 1665 Appledorn Avenue, Wi-Fi is available. Kenmore Community Center at 3242 York Corners Road, Wi-Fi is available. And Ben Franklin Place at 101 Center Point Drive, where Wi-Fi is available. All of these locations are open from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. daily. Some city services are being reallocated to prioritize a quick and safe recovery from the storm. Information about ongoing impacts of services will be shared on our website, social media, and through other media outlets. If you have power and internet service, follow the city's Ottawa media channels and the city's website at ottawa.ca. There's a link at the top of the banner that will take you directly to the emergency storm recovery page, après la tempête webpage. If you don't have internet access or you don't have power and you have a battery-powered or crank radio, you can tune into local news and stay informed. I know firsthand that many of the news stations are covering this storm many days or many hours of the day. And all of this good information is being shared by those media outlets. As a reminder, there are many emergency and repair crews out there on our main arteries. These arteries are still blocked, so you may make their job, so please make their job a little easier by staying off the roads if you don't have to go out. I thank you for your understanding and patience. Merci beaucoup de votre journée.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayat. Finally, I would like to invite Joseph Muglia, Director, Systems Operations and Grid Automation from Hydro Ottawa, to say a few words. Finalement, j'invite maintenant Joseph Muglia, Directeur, Exploitation des systèmes et automatisation du réseau. Allez-y, Joseph.
Good afternoon and thank you. At this time, I can confirm that Hydro Ottawa has restored power to more than 106,000 customers throughout the city. That's an additional 36,000 more than what I reported yesterday. At this hour, there are an estimated 74,000 customers without power in nearly every city ward. I'd like to reassure residents that progress is being made and that we're continuing to work around the clock. Our crew's efforts are being bolstered by contractors as well as support from other utilities in Toronto, Kingston, and even New Brunswick. Restoration efforts will continue 24/7 until all residents are reconnected. The days and nights performing restoration work to overhead lines are long and tough, but we continue to work to help our city recover and get power back to all of our customers. By now, we've all seen the footage of the destruction in our city. Like we said yesterday, this storm caused more damage to our infrastructure and equipment than the 1998 ice storm or the 2018 tornadoes. Fallen trees and branches on our wires and the significant damage we incurred to our hydro poles are catastrophic. By comparison, 80 hydro poles needed replacing after the tornadoes in 2018. For this event, we are almost 3 times that amount in damaged poles. This level of infrastructure replacement would commonly require about 6 months worth of time to complete. We're performing it within a matter of days. While the tornadoes caused a lot of damage, they didn't surge across our entire city, touching nearly every area and ward like this storm did. That's the biggest difference. Our territory is more than 1,100 square kilometers, and that's a lot of ground to cover. Prior to energizing equipment affected by an outage of this kind, we need to inspect it to make sure we haven't missed anything. Unfortunately, that inspection takes time, but it's the right thing to do to ensure the public is safe and that our workers are safe as well. We know customers still without power are struggling. As soon as we're in a position where we can communicate estimated restoration times for individual neighborhoods, we will. We're doing everything we can to get residents restored as quickly and safely as possible, and we're making significant progress. Thank you to our customers who are facing hardships due to this extreme weather event for your patience as we continue our work. Once again, I'd like to reiterate that if you see our crews working, please keep a safe distance away and respect the perimeters in place at our work sites. In many cases, these sites are extremely dangerous, and the job requires the utmost attention and focus of our crews so they can stay safe on the job and return home to their families. Also, if you notice a down power line, stay at least 10 meters or the length of a school bus away from it, please, and give us a call. We are making progress. Until all power is restored to every home and business, we'll be working 24/7. And in the meantime, please stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Again, I wish to thank media agencies for your coverage and for attending this media availability. I will now invite each agency to ask their question. In the interest of time, you may ask one question and one follow-up. J'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We will now start with Mia Robson at the Canadian Press.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm just wondering, there was a report, I believe this is a question for Hydro Ottawa. There was a report in 2019 assessing climate vulnerability that talked about the very high risk, particularly to the north-south cord hydro lines, I guess, from windstorms like this. Wondering what that report provided to Hydro Ottawa and what is being looked at for future type storms, given that that is such a high risk.
So I can assure you that Hydro Ottawa, like most LDCs or local distribution companies, have this type of information at their fingertips, and it's certainly not just from 2019, it's long before that. This data is always available to us. This is data that we take into account when we're putting our capital plans together. We're certainly, always looking at alternatives for our poles, for our infrastructure, looking at more robust equipment. But it's a balance. It's a very delicate balance between trying to, storm harden, but also providing the right equipment for what it's intended for, and the environment that it's intended for. So we take that into account. We always do. This was an extreme weather event that we don't normally see. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And I'm also just wondering, I keep hearing people say most customers will be back in 2 to 3 days. Do we have a sense of when all customers will be back?
A very difficult question to answer, unfortunately, just because, so what Hydro Ottawa will do is endeavor to bring back the bulk of the customers. In any sort of event like this, there's always those 1-2 customers, like the single customers that can't be brought up by infrastructure improvements that we're making at the utility level. Sometimes there's customers that are affected from the storm on their own equipment. So whether it's their own attachment to their homes or businesses, that usually has to be dealt with at a different level. That's at a more local level. So again, we'll do our best to get as many customers on in the next few days. There will undoubtedly be a few customers that are a bit more difficult to deal with and will take a bit more time.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we will be going to CBC National News. Do we have Stephen Hoff or Olivia on the call?
It's Stephen Hoff. I'm here. Thanks so much for taking our questions. I'll direct this to the mayor, but you can tell me if there's someone better to answer. We were at the Lexington Hunt Club OCH rentals with 76 units. They've been without power since Saturday, and even the emergency lights in the hallways aren't functioning, so it's very, very dark in there. They say they've received no support from the city or other agencies, and I'm just wondering how the city's planning on assisting these residents.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. Obviously, that's not acceptable if they haven't been helped by the city at this point. I'll bring this up with Mathieu Fleury, who's the chair of Ottawa Community Housing, and Stéphane Giguère, to see what we can do and have to do on an urgent basis. I don't know if Donna Gray can offer other comments. I know, for instance, we're encouraging people, if they need assistance, to call 311. And if they need food, for instance, they can call 211, and we have arrangements with Meals on Wheels. So if these individuals don't have that information, then we have to do a better job of making sure those people in that building have that information and have those phone numbers. Donna, if you'd like to add.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that is correct for individuals. And as well, we're working very closely with Ottawa Community Housing. We're aware that there are still 20 community buildings that are without a power as 12 o'clock today. But we are working closely with the Mission, Food for Thought, Cooking for Cause, and Parkdale Food Cupboard to make sure that those areas that don't have electricity actually have access to food. And again, they can call those numbers for other assistance should that be required as individuals.
So I know that Mathieu is on the line. Matt, if you could just follow up with Stéphane Giguère and get some people out there as soon as possible to bring as much information as possible to those residents. Appreciate it. Thank you. Your follow up, Stephen?
No, I don't have a follow up. I appreciate the answer. Thanks so much.
Thanks for letting us know about that.
Thank you very much. We'll now be going to Joanne Chianello at CBC Ontario.
Hi, thanks, folks. Thanks for having the press conference. I am wondering if in the last few days you have heard from Doug Ford in the province, and what he said to you. I'm wondering if I can hear maybe from the mayor, Mr. Kanellakis, Mr. Moulia.
Yeah, hi, Joanne. The premier called me, I think I've lost track of time now, 2 or 3 days ago, as did Andrea Horwath and Stephen Del Duca. Premier wanted an update from my perspective on numbers and where things stand with the response to the cleanup. and indicated any help the province can offer, he would be there to ensure that happens. We've since then obviously had some bilateral discussions with other jurisdictions. New Brunswick sent folks in. We've got Kingston Hydro helping us out, as well as some Americans that are helping out. And I just finished a tour with Hydro One at the Hunt Club 417 tower that's collapsed. There's 3 of those towers that have collapsed, and Hydro One has brought in an enormous amount of equipment to get those towers back up and running. We have a request into the Ministry of Natural Resources for more forestry people to help us, and we're waiting on a response. So I anticipate we hopefully hear today or tomorrow at the latest that they can send some people up from the regional M&R office, which I believe is in Pembroke. I think, Bryce, you had a conversation with the Premier, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't believe Bryce is on the call.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw him in there, but I think the Premier spoke to Bryce as well. So we have, I don't know, Steve, you want to add anything else, Steve K?
Yeah, no, hi, Joanne. And I haven't spoken to the Premier, obviously the Mayor did, but we've also got a request in for heavy equipment. If you remember some of the pictures, or if you went to the site during the tornado, we had those big heavy equipment with the claws that can lift the logs off of property and the heavy logs and move them rather quickly. So we've asked for that. We've asked for especially trucks that have siding strong enough to hold the logs that are placed for transport to get them to our depot. So we're in communication with senior officials at the ministries, and we're waiting. We just sent requests yesterday, so we're waiting to hear back today. We've been in constant communication with them, and if we don't get what we need, we'll be asking Mayor Watson to call the Premier to take him up on his word in terms of whatever we need. He'll get it done for us.
This is not my follow-up, but Steve, did you expect to hear back from them by now?
No, they're trying to assess. In fairness to them, they're trying to narrow down just how much equipment, where do we want it, how many people, because like everyone's saying, the storm is not isolated in one particular area where we can just hammer it. We've got work to do across the entire city. And so they're trying to get a sense of, what our needs are and where to deploy. So that those conversations are happening. So I'm not surprised that we don't have an answer yet. But if I don't hear something by end of day today, I think tomorrow we'll be wrapping it up.
Okay. And my follow-up is, Doug Ford was in Uxbridge. I think was it yesterday, Sunday? I think looking at the damage there. That's where his finance minister is from. He was supposed to be in Ottawa tomorrow, but they've moved it to now. It looks like Monday. I'm wondering, has anyone asked him not to come? Like, there are people wondering where he is, and he was scheduled to come here. And I'm wondering if anybody, whether it's Hydro Ottawa, Mr. Mulia, Mr. Kanalakis, you, the mayor, has anyone asked the Premier, Doug Ford, not to come tomorrow as was his original plan?
Well, I can answer. I've had no request not to have him come.
And you personally didn't say maybe hang on?
I didn't know.
Yeah. And Hydro Ottawa, anybody at Hydro Ottawa? And I think I saw Steve K say no. Nope. Nobody? Okay. I just want to check. Thank you.
It's always welcome here.
Thank you, Joanne. We'll now be going to Joe Tunney at CBC Ottawa.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. And if you don't mind, I'll get my answer in French and English. But I'm looking at the number of trees toppled. I'm just curious, what the damage to the local canopy looks like. And as kind of my follow-up is, are there reasons why we saw the extreme number of trees felled? Was it age, leaves on the branches? I'm just curious if someone can kind of get at the why so many trees fell on Saturday.
Alain, would that be your jurisdiction?
Yeah, I can respond to that, Mr. Mayor. I think when you look at basically the path of damage, it's two things. It's basically the high winds, the extreme high winds that we've had. And most of the impacted areas are basically more of a mature communities where we basically have a larger tree canopy, larger trees. when you have those high winds, that's a lot of pressure against the trees, and that's really what resulted in the extent of the damage. In areas where newer communities where you have smaller trees, the impact is less just because of the less impact in terms of the wind on the trees. So that's really the short answer to why we've seen such damage to the bigger trees. It's really more of a mature communities that were impacted.
Is there a reason why we didn't see that, or I mean, we did to some extent, but in previous storms, like, was there anything that really worsened the devastation? You know, I've seen some forests that were quite decimated. Yeah, anything in this storm that wasn't in previous ones?
I think the wind, the precipitations and the high winds, like we had winds in 130 plus kilometers, and I suspect that probably localized areas were probably even higher. Those are not typical winds. So those are really winds that create damage, especially for large trees. And had this storm hit maybe a month or a month and a half ago when we had less leaves on the trees, the impacts might have been less, but a lot of the trees were really starting to get their foliage. That creates a lot more pressure on the trees with these very significant winds.
And can I just get that in French as well?
Oui, lorsqu'on regarde l'impact sur les arbres, c'est surtout les communautés qui sont où est-ce qu'on a des arbres qui sont de plus gros calibre. Donc, dans les communautés les plus vieilles communautés où est-ce que les arbres vraiment ont eu plus de temps à vieillir, avec les vents significatifs qu'on a eu, on parle des vents de 130 km à l'heure et plus. L'impact sur les gros arbres, surtout que le feuillage venait juste de sortir, c'est beaucoup de pression au niveau des arbres. Puis c'est pour cette raison-là que vous voyez tant d'arbres, des gros arbres, qui ont été affectés de façon plus significative.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Ina, sorry, can I just mention Matt Fleury was good enough to follow up on that question by Stephen at the CBC with respect to the Lexington. I'm told by Matt that a generator has been put in place at the building, I believe, as of today. And Donna Gray and her team will also be following up in terms of food issues and other supplies for that particular neighborhood. So I thank Councillor Fleury and OCH for that, and Donna will follow up. So we'll have some people on the ground there tomorrow. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So moving on, we will go to Alex Gouge at City News Ottawa.
Hello. So in the wake of the storm, what kind of impacts still remain on public transit in Ottawa?
Renee?
Yes, thank you for the question, Alex. Actually, we're very good. I can say that since Saturday night, we had resumed the service on the ADLRT, and actually buses, Paratranspo as well, are running very, very good.
Perfect. That's my only question for today.
Thank you, Alex. We will now go to Ted Raymond at CTV Ottawa.
Hi there. I'm going to start with Mr. Ayat. Wondering if we could get a follow-up on my question that I had asked yesterday, just regarding to the gasoline situation. You said you were going to kind of take it into advisement and an ESC perspective. We're still seeing a lot of stations running out. Do you think it is a situation where people are basically just trying to fill up at the places that have power and they're running dry? And have you been in touch with any suppliers or anything like that in terms of how to help people who are still looking for gasoline?
Sorry, that was. I'm causing the accident too long. Slow down. Yeah, that should be better.
Hi, GM. I'm just going to try to mute your other device. Okay, just a moment. Please bear with me, everyone. Are you able to unmute yourself, GM?
My apologies. I was on a forced computer shutdown, so I had to log in on my iPad and then I had both devices up. So, but I did hear the question. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so our EOC has identified that the main three suppliers have had power issues, and that's one of the issues. I was also out on the road today and going out to visit the sites, and there were a lot of service stations open, not long lineups, not actually all in the sites that are damaged, but in and around the city. We are there to help. We've reached out. I know from a city supply perspective, our supply chain has been good, and we have a full supply from an emergency perspective. So we continue to work on that, and we'll continue to assess it. As I indicated yesterday, it's mostly an issue of when the power comes back on, those stations will also open up. But certainly when I was out today, I didn't see the magnitude of an issue that we saw over the weekend. I think it's starting to alleviate itself. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that. I do want to follow up. Is there somebody from Ottawa Police on the line?
I believe there is.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I guess we're just following up just in terms of whether, with people starting to kind of get to their wet's end in some cases, whether you've seen any kind of increase in issues that require a police response, assaults, break-ins, that sort of thing over the last 24, 48 hours.
No, we have not seen any increase like that since the incident happened. We've continued increased a lot of patrols in the areas that don't have power right now, but we haven't seen a change in the crime rates in those areas.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted. Nous allons maintenant passer à Julien Paquet, à le droit.
Bonjour. La première question, ce serait pour Monsieur le maire. On a parlé un peu des demandes qui ont été faites jusqu'à maintenant au gouvernement provincial. Est-ce qu'il y a des demandes similaires qui ont été faites aussi au gouvernement fédéral? Oui, c'est ça, gouvernement fédéral.
Merci, Julien. Pas à ce moment parce que la responsabilité pour des urgences dans une municipalité, c'est la province de l'Ontario et ça, c'est la raison que je parlais avec M. Ford. Et on a communiqué avec son bureau aujourd'hui pour demander l'assistance avec les personnes qui avaient l'expertise dans le domaine des forêts. Et j'espère qu'il va aider la ville pendant les prochains 1 ou 2 jours. Mais pour le moment, il n'y a pas de demande spécifique de la gouvernement fédéral. Certainement, on va commencer les discussions avec les 2 autres paliers du gouvernement qui concernent les coûts, parce que ça coûte beaucoup d'argent pour la municipalité et certainement, j'ai besoin l'aide de finances pour tous les coûts pour cette tempête. Merci.
Parfait. Puis ma deuxième question, je ne sais pas qui exactement serait la meilleure question, la meilleure personne pour y répondre. Mais je me demandais, considérant qu'il y a deux agences qui offrent des services d'électricité sur le territoire d'Ottawa, est-ce que ça complique un peu les travaux pour réparer le réseau un peu partout? Est-ce que les communications se font bien avec Hydro One, par exemple, pour faire sûr que tout soit rétabli rapidement à l'ensemble du territoire?
Oui, ça c'est une bonne question. Peut-être Joseph va répondre à ça. Est-ce que tu parles français? Do you speak French, Joseph? Or I can maybe offer.
I can repeat in I'm English. Not great, but I have someone here, Dan Segem, will answer.
Okay, merci. Dan? Dan Segem, are you on mute?
Dan, are you on the line? I'm just going to unmute him. He doesn't appear to be there. I'll follow up with, I'll follow up with his group. And Julien, si tu veux, on peut répondre en anglais maintenant, si tu veux. Ou,
Yeah, I'll repeat the question in English, and if Mr. Seguin reaches back to me in French later, that's fine. I was asking about the fact that there are two agencies on the territory of the city of Ottawa delivering services, and just wondering how this dynamic, as this dynamic made things more difficult to in efforts to bring back power across the city, or have the communications been with Hydro One been good in the past few days?
So I can tell you that the relationship that we have with Hydro One is extremely strong. We usually function independently, except when the city is hit like this, and we need to work together. They are our provincial supplier. We're very dependent on them. We've got a great relationship together. They've assisted in a very minor way with some of the construction, as a matter of fact, to get us going on Hawthorne Road, which is fantastic. They've offered materials and equipment as needed. We haven't run into that problem where we've needed it, but it's certainly available. And we work very closely together during the tornadoes as well. It was very, very much a joint effort. So no challenges whatsoever as far as that goes. And as a matter of fact, the infrastructure that Hydro One continues to work on is not affecting Hydro Ottawa.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph, and merci, Julien. So we'll now be going to John Willing at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, Kina, thank you. Mayor Watson, hello. Is the message for Ottawa residents to stay home, work from home if you can, essentially for the rest of the week or until power fully returns?
Yeah, my advice is that it's best for people to stay at home if they can stay at home. Obviously, people who want to work from home, if they don't have electricity, that is a problem. But the fewer people on the roads, the better, because we still have a number of intersections and a number of major roads like Woodruff and Baseline and Maryville that still have challenges. I know they're going to start working on Maryville, cleaning it up tomorrow. But the bottom line is the more cars that are on the road, the more challenging it is for our emergency vehicles and for our crews to get into those streets and neighborhoods that have been hard hit. I've been getting some reports that people are driving into those hard hit areas to take pictures. Well, that's the last thing the neighbors need. Please respect their situation. They're under a lot of stress, and the last thing they need are sort of storm tourists going in and taking pictures of fallen pine trees in different neighborhoods. So please, if you can, stay at home. And if you have to go to work, transit, as we heard from Renee, is up and fully running and available to all our residents. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mayor. Follow-up question to Mr. Ayat. Kim, do you know if the cellular service in the city of Ottawa is stable? I know just after the storm, there were pockets where there was no cell service at all, but can you bring us up to speed now? How is the cell service across the city?
Actually, we've taken a step in the city to bring the cell service providers in our EOC to actually discuss this issue and to try and resolve some of the issues that we were facing. They, along with Hydro and our EOC personnel, have seen a vast improvement. So there was some disruptions earlier on in the weekend. There's still a few in the areas where there are power outages, but for the most part, the cell service companies have actively participated in trying to provide greater service along with the EOC, and that's been successful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now be going to Blair Crawford at the Ottawa Sun.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm wondering if anyone at the city can give us an idea of how many people have been displaced by the storm, either through damage to their homes or loss of power. Have you been relocating anyone?
Donna, I think, gave us one number in terms of number of families that we've helped out. Donna, do you have that for Blair?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as of this morning, we had 8 families that had requested to be relocated as a result of the storm and have been supported. That's what we have as of today.
And maybe just a quick follow-up then, with the service centers open like Goulburn Rec Center and so on, how heavily are these being used by residents? Have you seen as many people as you're expecting or more than you're expecting?
Yesterday, we had approximately 2,000 people use these facilities. So we were ready for it. And the numbers are the numbers. I think we prepared for large numbers, but we managed to process, I guess, if you will, or at least accommodate and help 2,000 people yesterday. The numbers have reduced a bit today as the power starts to come back on. We start to see a little less, but I still suspect our numbers will be well over 1,000 for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. Moving on, pour continuer, on va aller à Charles Lalande à Radio-Canada.
Merci. Monsieur Watson, vous venez de parler un peu un stay at home. Pouvez-vous nous répéter en français la consigne que vous désirez donner aux citoyens pour ce qui est des déplacements non essentiels?
Oui, certainement. Mon suggestion est, si ça c'est possible, pour la population de rester chez eux, parce que trop de circulation est difficile pour Hydro et des autres départements comme Travaux publics qui essaient de nettoyer des rues comme Maryvale et Woodruff. Certainement, si vous n'avez pas le pouvoir ou Hydro à votre maison, c'est un peu difficile de travailler. Mais si ça c'est nécessaire d'aller dans un quartier de la ville, utiliser le transport commun, aussi transport, le train léger et tous les autobus, fournir le bon service. Et ça va aider avec les problèmes de trop des autos sur les rues dans la ville d'Ottawa.
En fait, puis pour mon follow-up, pouvez-vous nous répéter aussi en français l'état de la situation, combien de gens il manque? On vous a parlé de la majorité pour 2-3 jours, mais si on en sait un peu plus pour la totalité des gens quand on va retrouver le courant?
Oui, certainement, il y a 106 000 personnes qui avaient le Hydro dans leur maison maintenant et il y a 74 000 qui ont besoin de Hydro. Et on travaille très fort 24 heures par jour avec nos amis de Hydro Ottawa et aussi on a fait des services de Hydro de Toronto, Kingston, les États-Unis qui aidaient avec la situation dans la ville d'Ottawa. Et certainement, Hydro 1 est responsable pour une moitié de la ville d'Ottawa, spécifiquement les comtés ruraux. Il fait du bon travail pour retourner le pouvoir à les résidents dans, par exemple, Cumberland, Osgood, Rideau, Goulburn et West Carleton.
Merci.
De rien.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce qu'on a Martin Girard de RDI sur la ligne? No? Okay. And do we have Angela on the line from Daily Commercial News? Well, this concludes our media availability for today. Ceci conclut notre point de presse pour aujourd'hui. Thank you everyone for attending. Merci à tous d'être parmi nous. Bonne journée. Have a great day.